So apparently, over on corporate media, they are still debating the Donald Trump fraud fine of $355 million. So on CNN the other day, they had a debate over it. You know, we talked about that, Kevin O'Leary versus one of the CNN hosts. And what struck me in that debate is Kevin O'Leary clearly had not read any of the case. He's got these strong opinions on it. Oh, this is bullshit. Let me explain to you why. And he doesn't know anything about the case. He couldn't tell you the first thing about the facts of the case. Well, I think you're going to see another similar thing here. So Jessica Tarlov, the resident Democrat or liberal over at Fox News, starts talking about this issue with the conservative panel here. And they all lose their damn mind and throw a little tantrum. But again, they make very clear they don't know anything about the case. They know nothing about it. They just know that they're with Trump. So let's watch and then we'll break it down.
What do you think the business community is actually looking at it? She says it's no big deal, but Kevin O'Leary says it's an atrocity.
I'm not sure. I think we'll have to see how it plays out in the appeals court. And that's what everyone is waiting for to see, right? Because the state will have to prove exactly who was the victim in all of this. And I'm assume they've thought about this long enough that they have a good answer for that. But basically, everyone who is defending Donald Trump in this, from Kevin O'Leary to some folks here, is saying it is okay to falsify your business records, to issue false financial statements, to commit conspiracy for insurance fraud. When he goes out there,
where's the fraud?
The fraud is, and David Brooks lays this out really nicely. He was on a weekend show. He says you can't have three sets of books. You can't have the books for the bankers, so that's Deutsche Bank, who, is happy with all this. Then you have your IRS books, and we know that you're supposed to tell the IRS the truth. And then you have a set of books with the real numbers, I guess, which is what Alan Weisselberg had.
But
Donald Trump continually.
There were three sets of books. Where do you get that from? Where do you get that from?
That's part of what Judge had said that.
Look at the level of discourse we have here. She brings up something from the judge, and she's like, well, you can't trust anything from the judge. He's the judge. Well, you just poisoned the well, so by definition, there can't be a counterpoint. I mean, this is how, oh, God, it reminds me of having political discussions with extended family members. It's like I shouldn't even be here because anything I say is dismissed out of hand. Because, it's the classic, well, according to this study, you're going to believe that study? It's like, yeah, at least I'm citing a study. You're citing absolutely nothing. You made it up. It's like, well, my making it up is more, your study's biased, bro. It's from lunatics, bro. How are you supposed to debate or discuss anything? If the well is so poisoned, anytime you mention anything, it's immediately dismissed out of hand. It's not an honest conversation. Again, what you're going to find is the people who are going after Tarlov here, they didn't read the case at all. They read absolutely nothing about the case.
Lunatic.
Because he's a lunatic, it means it didn't exist.
Yeah, this is
Donald
a judge
Trump,
who decides cases based on emotion.
Okay. I think emotion is hot at the table, and it is not emanating from me. So, since Donald Trump ran the first time, he has been making this argument, if they could do this to me, they could do this to you. The average person is not inflating their wealth by $800 million to $2.2 billion. They're not sexually assaulting women. They're not storing classified documents in the toilet. They're not fomenting an insurrection. Mar-a-Lago, you remember the documents?
Let's focus on this case. We can do a lot.
You always do that.
No, Jessica, you're doing a laundry list.
Really? You just said Judge Edgar on this too.
When we're focused on one topic. We're focused on one topic.
Okay.
And yes, it does.
Don't bring up all the other crimes he committed. Focus just on this one crime so I can tell you that it's not real. I can't. These people, man. Oh.
Yes, it does matter.
Falsifying your business records. Do you do that?
No, I'll tell you what I do, because I'm glad you asked. When you're in a contract negotiation with a company, let's say your contract is up and your company says, we want to renew your contract, and they don't give you a bump in the raise. That's the beginning. And then you come back and you go, you know what? I'm going to ask for the frickin' moon, which I always do. And I know I'm not going to get the moon, but I also know at the end of the day, they're going to see everything. I can say, I want $100 million over the next 6 months. They're going to laugh. But that doesn't mean I broke the law. It means this is what you put down in a negotiation. And as the judge said, it's all transparent.
This is such a bullshit point. He's conflating what happens in a negotiation versus what was put on official documents and reported as such when it wasn't true. I'm going to get into all of it in a minute. I'm going to go through the whole thing in the case in just a minute. I'll give you all the facts that they're not telling you, but this is such a dodge. It's such nonsense.
It's all transparent. They actually see it. There is no fraud here, which is why you're bringing up other stuff.
There is no fraud. He's literally found liable for fraud.
Well,
I'm
Okay,
sure.
I got to get Jesse in. Let's just give you the final word.
I was going to say, you obviously, with respect, Jessica, know nothing about real estate valuations, real estate development, or the IRS, or getting loans from big banks to develop skylines in New York City. Donald Trump did more for New York City than 1,000 Letitia Jameses did.
I can't. With respect, you know nothing about the case. I like when he was like, there's no fraud here. That was the whole point of the case. And they said, yes, there's a lot of fraud here. Like he says it, there's no fraud here. The finding was literally the exact opposite of the thing you just said. It's like, there's fucking concrete in here, man. There's no getting through. Okay, so we've already been through this before, but I need to repeat it because this is all that matters, guys. You're going to see on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and everywhere, people are going to talk. I'm stealing that thing from R.M. Brown. He does this. They're going hear what I think about the case. Here's what I think about it. I don't care what anybody thinks about any of it. Go read it and see what it actually says. Okay. So what did Trump do? He would undervalue his properties for tax purposes to pay less in taxes. He would overvalue it when trying to sell or promote or get loans from banks on more favorable terms. That's called fraud. He falsified business records. He issued false financial statements. He did insurance fraud. He did bank fraud. He did over 200 false and misleading asset valuations. He said, or his Wall Street property was worth $200 million. He listed it as worth over $500 million. That's not close. Trump said his apartment was 30,000 square feet. It was actually 11,000 square feet. He said it's worth $327 million. That's a price that's higher than any apartment has ever sold for in New York City history. He overstated it by $200 million. He did this to increase his net worth and then get banks to offer him more favorable terms. Mar-a-Lago gets revenue of $25 million a year. It's valued at maximum $75 million. He said it's worth $739 million. He got a loan of $170 million from Deutsche Bank and sold the former post office for over $300 million for a profit of $100 million, but he got that loan based on false pretenses and fraud. So there's 280 pages from the New York Attorney General detailing all of this stuff. Okay? If you were to do what he did, you know what happened? You'd be in prison. That's what would happen. If you did what he did, you'd be behind bars. If you, on the one hand, undervalue your properties to pay lower in taxes and then overvalue it to get more favorable terms on a loan from the bank, you would get caught like that and you would be in prison. That's what would happen. But when he does it, these people turn their brains off and this is good business. It's like when Trump very famously said in the debate with Hillary Clinton when she was like, you paid like nothing in taxes. And he's like, yeah, that makes me smart. All of us have to pay our taxes. All of us have to do it. If we don't do it, we go to prison. If he doesn't do it, he gets a pat on the back and a you're so smart from the establishment. No, that's unacceptable. See, this is what people mean when they say, well, it looks like the rich play by a whole different set of rules. The rules don't apply to them. They commit crimes on a daily basis and just get away with it because it's not sexy and it's white-collar crime and things of that nature. Well, it's time to change that. And so it's wonderful that he had to pay this colossal fine over this. It's phenomenal. Because it's bad business, right? It's bad business. And by the way, a point that nobody's bringing up, they didn't even throw the book at him and give him the strongest penalty. Because it was on the table, potentially the corporate death penalty over what he did here. They didn't give it to him. I wish they did, They didn't. So originally they asked for a $250 million fine, then it was up to $370 million. The final thing was $355 million, but it's plus interest, so it's going to be more than that. It'll be over $400 million when all is said and done. Add the E. Jean Carroll money, you're looking at almost $500 million. But there was no corporate death penalty. And so he can't do business for 3 years. His idiot sons can't do it for 2 years. But look, understand what in this case is like debatable. Like, you could debate at the amount of the fine and the particulars of the punishment. Like, that's all fair. But the thing that's frustrating me is people clearly didn't read the case. They clearly don't know any of the specifics. And so they just attack it from the basic premises of the case, as if, like, we don't actually know that there's a massive amount of fraud that was committed. No, that part's not debatable. We know there's a massive amount of fraud. This is what they do on Fox News. It's just pro-Trump propaganda. That's all it is. And the one woman who's making sense is treated like she has leprosy or something. You know, they act like she's insane when she's the one who clearly read more about the case than they did. It's just unbearable. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.